All right, so we're diving deep today, and it's amazing how many of you have been reaching out and sharing your experiences with vulvodynia and how it seems to be intertwined with so many other vaginal health concerns.
Yeah, it really does seem to be a bit of a puzzle, doesn't it?
It does, and that's exactly what we're going to try to unpack today. We've got a ton of information here, and our mission is to really get a better grasp on vulvodynia, explore what might be at the root of it, and see if we can uncover some potential solutions, all based on what you guys have been digging into.
Great. Sounds like a plan.
So to set the stage, when we're talking about vulvodynia, we're talking about this persistent discomfort in the vulva. We're talking about things like sharp pain, that burning sensation, stinging, or even just an overall feeling of soreness or itching down there.
And what really makes it tricky is that a lot of times there's no obvious culprit. Like it's not necessarily tied to an infection or an injury that you can pinpoint.
Exactly, and it's something that affects a huge number of women globally. It's not a small thing.
Not at all. It can really impact your quality of life. Things that you normally wouldn't even think about sitting for a while, working out, being intimate, all of a sudden those things can become really difficult.
Yeah. So while the exact cause is still kind of up for debate, there's this growing understanding that it's probably not just one thing, but this combination of factors that all contribute.
Right. Researchers are looking at things like the nerves in the area becoming overly sensitive, chronic inflammation that just doesn't seem to go away, the role of hormones and how they fluctuate, even the muscles of the pelvic floor, and of course what we're going to be focusing on quite a bit today, those disruptions to the delicate balance of the vaginal microbiome.
Right, because you always hear about how important that microbiome is, but it's not always clear why.
Well, think of it this way. It's like this incredibly intricate ecosystem, right? Primarily made up of these beneficial bacteria, mainly lactobacillus, and they're kind of the guardians of vaginal health. They work tirelessly to maintain the pH balance down there, making it slightly acidic, which acts as this natural shield against unwanted microbes.
So it's like their acidity is actually a good thing.
Exactly. It creates this environment that most of the troublemakers don't like to hang out in. Plus, they're also helping to support the local immune system, right there at the front lines.
Makes sense.
And then on top of that, they help to keep the population of those less than helpful microbes in check. But when this finely tuned system gets thrown off balance, it can make the discomfort of vulvodynia even worse.
And increase the likelihood of those recurring infections you were mentioning, right? Like bacterial vaginosis, those yeast infections, even UTIs.
Exactly. So with all of that in mind, it seems like a really smart approach to managing vulvodynia would be to think about it holistically.
Yeah, like not just putting a Band-Aid on the symptoms, but getting to the root of the problem.
Absolutely. Focusing on restoring that natural balance in the vaginal environment, calming down any inflammation that's happening, and really giving the body's own immune system the support it needs to do its job.
Now, speaking of support, one thing that came up as we were going through all this information was this product called Balance Complex. Have you heard about this?
I have, yeah. It's marketed as this pretty comprehensive way to support vaginal health. It's supposed to tackle several of the key issues we've been discussing.
Interesting. So maybe we can dig into that a bit later and see what it's all about. But before we go there, I think it would be helpful to really unpack what's actually going on with vulvodynia.
Sure.
You mentioned earlier that it's more than just localized pain, right?
Yeah. It often reflects some deeper imbalances happening in the vaginal ecosystem as a whole. It's not just about that one spot. It's connected to this complex interplay of factors.
So one of the things that stood out in the research is this idea of persistent or chronic inflammation. Can you explain what that means in this context?
Well, imagine it this way. Even when there's no obvious infection, nothing's showing up on those standard tests, the tissues in the vulva can still be in this heightened state of inflammation, this constant irritation.
And that's what makes it so sensitive, I guess.
Right. And it can be incredibly frustrating because it feels like there's this problem that needs to be addressed, but it's not always clear what the target is.
Exactly. It's like your body is sending you these signals, but you don't know how to interpret them.
Precisely. And what's really interesting is that this chronic inflammation isn't just a symptom. It can actually make the situation worse.
Oh, so?
Well, remember how we talked about the vagina having this natural protective barrier?
Yeah, thanks to that acidic environment created by the good bacteria.
Exactly. Well, ongoing inflammation can actually weaken that barrier, making it more vulnerable to irritation from things that wouldn't normally bother it.
So like everyday things, clothing, soap, even just friction could suddenly become a problem.
Exactly. It can be really tough to manage. And of course, a weakened barrier also means you're more susceptible to those pesky infections we keep talking about.
Ugh, it's like a vicious cycle.
It is. And this is where the connection between chronic inflammation and the disruption of the vaginal microbiome becomes really fascinating.
Okay, tell me more about that.
We've already talked about how important those lactobacillus bacteria are, right? How they create that acidic environment that keeps things in check. But when chronic inflammation is present, it can actually lead to a decrease in those beneficial bacteria.
So inflammation actually kills off the good guys.
Not directly, but it throws off the balance of the ecosystem. Plus, there are other factors that can contribute to this shift, too.
Like what?
Well, hormonal fluctuations can play a role. Think about things like your menstrual cycle, pregnancy, menopause. All those hormonal shifts can impact the vaginal environment.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then there's the immune system. When your immune system is out of whack, it can also disrupt the balance of the microbiome. It might not be functioning optimally, making it harder for those beneficial bacteria to thrive.
So it's like all these things can team up to create this perfect storm that makes it really tough for the good bacteria to do their job.
Exactly. And when that happens, you can end up with this domino effect.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this domino effect.
Well, as the population of lactobacillus declines, that protective acidic pH starts to increase, becomes less acidic, and that creates an environment where the not-so-friendly bacteria and yeast can really flourish.
Oh, so they actually prefer a less acidic environment.
They do. It's kind of like their ideal playground.
So that's when you start to see those common infections cropping up, right?
Precisely. Bacterial vaginosis, with that characteristic odor and irritation, yeast infections, with the intense itching, burning, and discharge. And then there are UTIs, which can be incredibly painful too.
Ugh, it's like every time you turn around, there's another issue to deal with.
It can be really challenging. And what's even more frustrating is that those infections themselves can actually contribute to the underlying inflammation, making the whole situation even worse.
No, it's like they're fueling the fire that's already burning.
Exactly. And then, on top of all of that, we have to consider the role of nerve hypersensitivity, which is a really significant aspect of vulvodynia.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. You know, even everyday things like the gentle rubbing of clothes or light touch can trigger pain for someone with vulvodynia.
Right. It's as if the nerves in the area become overly reactive. Imagine a car alarm that goes off at the slightest breeze.
It doesn't take much to set it off.
Exactly. And the thinking is that this heightened sensitivity can be exacerbated by chronic irritation or even infections that haven't fully cleared up. So even once the infection is technically gone, the nerves are still firing off those pain signals.
Wow, so it's like the body is stuck in this pain loop.
In a way, yes. And then, as we've discussed, those imbalances in pH and the weakened state of the tissues create this breeding ground for recurrent infections. BV keeps coming back, yeast infections flare up repeatedly, and UTIs become a constant battle.
It just never seems to end.
It can be really disheartening, and this is where we have to step back and remember that vulvodynia isn't just a physical condition. It also has a profound impact on emotional well-being.
That makes total sense. I mean, living with chronic pain like this would definitely take a toll on your mental health.
Absolutely. It's really common for women with vulvodynia to experience increased stress, anxiety, even feelings of depression. And what's really interesting is that this emotional distress can sometimes worsen the physical symptoms. It becomes this complicated two-way street.
Oh, so your emotional state can actually influence the severity of the physical pain.
Exactly. It's all so interconnected. Our bodies and minds are not separate entities. They're constantly influencing each other. So when we're talking about managing vulvodynia, it's essential to address both the physical and the emotional components.
I think that's such an important point. We often focus so much on the physical symptoms that we forget about the emotional toll that chronic conditions can take.
It's easy to do, especially when the physical pain is so prominent. But we really have to remember that the mind-body connection is incredibly powerful, and it can play a significant role in both exacerbating and alleviating symptoms.
Okay, so with all of that in mind, let's shift our focus back to the vaginal microbiome for a bit. We've talked about how important it is, but I think it would be helpful to really break down exactly what it does on a day-to-day basis. You know, what's its primary role in maintaining vaginal health?
Well, you can think of the vaginal microbiome as this intricate ecosystem that's constantly working to protect and support the health of the vagina. And those lactobacillus species that we keep mentioning, they're the real MVPs of this ecosystem.
Like the all-star team.
Exactly. They're the ones who are out there every day, keeping things running smoothly. And they do this through a few key mechanisms.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me about these mechanisms.
Well, first and foremost, they're responsible for maintaining that acidic pH that we've talked about so much.
Right, ideally between 3.8 and 4.5, if I remember correctly.
Exactly. And that acidity is crucial because it acts like a natural preservative. It inhibits the growth of many of the bacteria and yeasts that can cause those uncomfortable infections.
So it's like their acidity creates a hostile environment for the bad guys.
Precisely. It's like a no vacancy sign for those unwanted microbes.
I love that analogy.
Ah.
So they're essentially the bouncers of the vaginal ecosystem.
Uh-huh, exactly. They're keeping the riffraff out.
Yeah.
But their role goes beyond just pH balance.
Okay, so what else are they doing?
Well, these beneficial bacteria also play a crucial role in supporting the local immune system right there in the vaginal tissues.
So they're not just bouncers, they're like security guards too.
Haha, I like the way you think. Yeah, they're like a multi-talented security team.
Amazing. So how exactly do they support the immune system?
Well, they can actually interact with the immune cells in the vaginal lining, helping to modulate the inflammatory response and bolstering the body's natural defenses against pathogens.
So they're not just fighting off the bad guys themselves, they're also training up the body's own troops to fight more effectively.
Exactly. They're like the drill sergeants of the immune system getting those cells ready for battle.
That's incredible. I never realized they were so multi-talented.
It's amazing, isn't it? But there's even more.
Wait, there's more.
Yep. A balanced microbiome also contributes to the structural integrity of the vaginal tissues themselves.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, a healthy population of lactobacillus helps to maintain the thickness and resilience of the vaginal lining. It's like they're constantly reinforcing the walls of the fortress, making it harder for those unwanted microbes to penetrate.
So they're like the construction workers of the vaginal ecosystem too.
You've got it. They're a real jack of all trades.
That's amazing. So when you think about it that way, it makes perfect sense that a disruption to this delicate balance could have such a significant impact on vaginal health.
Absolutely. When the microbiome is out of whack, it can really throw everything off.
So for someone experiencing vulvodynia, where this balance is likely disrupted, actively working to restore the microbiome seems like a really logical and potentially effective step.
It does, doesn't it? And that's where the idea of using probiotics comes into play, specifically those containing specific strains of lactobacillus that have been shown to be beneficial for vaginal health.
Yeah, you see them popping up everywhere these days. But it can be confusing trying to figure out which ones are right for you.
Absolutely. There are so many different strains out there, and they all have their own unique properties and benefits. So it's important to do your research and choose a probiotic that's specifically formulated for vaginal health.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the specific strains that have been shown to be helpful for vulvodynia. In the research we've looked at, a few names keep coming up. Lactobacillus acidophilus, L. rhamnosus, L. reuteri, L. plantarum, and B. coagulans. Can you tell us a bit more about each of these strains and what they do?
Sure. Lactobacillus acidophilus is kind of the gold standard when it comes to vaginal probiotics. It's been studied extensively, and it's really good at producing lactic acid, which, as we've discussed, is essential for maintaining that acidic pH.
So it's like the superstar of the lactobacillus world.
Exactly. It's a real workhorse.
And what about L. rhamnosus? What does it bring to the table?
Lactobacillus rhamnosus has been shown to be really good at supporting the immune system and helping to maintain a balanced microbial environment in the vagina. It's like the peacekeeper, making sure everyone gets along.
Okay, I like that. And then there's L. reuteri.
Lactobacillus reuteri is interesting because it's been studied for its anti-inflammatory properties. It can actually help to calm down the inflammation that's often present in vulvodynia.
So it's like the firefighter of the group putting out the fires.
Exactly. It helps to soothe the irritation and promote healing.
Awesome. And what about L. plantarum? What's its superpower?
Lactobacillus plantarum is known for its antioxidant properties. It can help to protect the delicate tissues in the vagina from damage.
It's like the bodyguard of the vaginal ecosystem.
Uh-huh. I love that. Yeah, it's always there, shielding those tissues from harm.
And finally, we have B. coagulans. That one's a bit different, right? It's not a lactobacillus.
It is a bit different. It's actually a spore-forming probiotic, which means it can survive in harsh environments, like the acidic environment of the stomach.
Oh, so it's like the tough guy of the group.
Exactly. It can handle anything you throw at it. And because it can survive the journey through the digestive system, it's more likely to reach the intestines and ultimately the vagina where it's needed.
So it's like it's got a special suit of armor that protects it from the elements.
Precisely. And once it reaches the vagina, it can get to work, promoting microbial balance and long-term resilience.
Okay, so those are some of the key probiotic strains to look for when you're trying to restore a healthy vaginal microbiome.
They are, but remember, it's always best to talk to your healthcare provider before starting any new supplements, just to make sure it's right for you.
Absolutely. They can help you choose the right probiotic and dosage for your individual needs. So we've been talking a lot about probiotics and how important they are for restoring a healthy vaginal microbiome. But what about other approaches to supporting vaginal health? What else can women do to create an environment that's conducive to healing and comfort?
That's a great question. It's really about taking a multifaceted approach. Probiotics are a great starting point, but there are other things you can do to support your vaginal health as well.
Like what?
Well, one of the simplest things you can do is to be mindful of the products you're using in the vaginal area.
So things like soaps, washes, lubricants, all that stuff.
Exactly. Anything that comes into contact with that delicate tissue, it's really important to choose products that are fragrance-free and hypoallergenic.
Because fragrances and harsh chemicals can be irritating, right?
They can, especially if you're already dealing with sensitivity or inflammation. It's like adding fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
So opting for gentle, pH-balanced products can make a big difference.
What about clothing? Does that play a role too?
It can. Tight-fitting clothing, especially synthetic fabrics that don't breathe well, can trap moisture and heat, creating an environment that's more conducive to bacterial and yeast growth.
So those are the kind of clothes you want to avoid.
Exactly. Opting for loose-fitting, breathable clothing, especially cotton underwear, can help to keep things cool and dry down there.
That makes sense. And what about diet? Does that have an impact on vaginal health?
It can. Eating a balanced diet that's rich in fruits, vegetables, and whole grains can help to support overall health, including the health of the vaginal microbiome.
And what about things to avoid?
Well, sugary foods and drinks can actually promote the growth of yeast, so it's a good idea to limit those. And some women find that certain foods, like spicy foods or caffeine, can trigger their symptoms, so it's worth paying attention to your own body and seeing if there are any foods that seem to make things worse.
So it's like a personalized experiment. You have to figure what works for your own body.
Exactly. What works for one person might not work for another, so it's all about paying attention and making adjustments as needed.
That makes total sense. And then there's the emotional piece that we talked about earlier. Managing stress and anxiety is so important for overall health, but especially for those with vulvodynia.
Absolutely. Stress can really exacerbate inflammation throughout the body, and that includes the vaginal area. So finding healthy ways to manage stress, whether it's through exercise, meditation, yoga, spending time in nature, or anything else that brings you joy and relaxation can make a world of difference.
It's like giving your body a break from all that tension.
Exactly. It allows your body to focus on healing and repair.
And then, of course, there's the importance of seeking professional guidance.
Absolutely. If you're experiencing persistent symptoms, it's crucial to consult with a healthcare provider. They can help you determine the underlying cause of your discomfort, rule out any other potential conditions, and develop a personalized treatment plan.
Yeah, because it could be something completely different.
Right. There are a lot of things that can cause vulvar pain, so it's important to get a proper diagnosis.
And even if it is vulvodynia, there are different treatment options available, and a healthcare provider can help you navigate those options and find the best approach for you.
Exactly. They can also provide support and guidance as you navigate the emotional challenges that often accompany this condition.
So it's like having someone in your corner, someone who understands what you're going through and can help you get the right care.
Precisely. It can make a huge difference in your healing journey. Okay, so now that we've talked about all of these different approaches to supporting vaginal health, maybe it's time to circle back to Balance Complex. We touched on it earlier, but I think it would be helpful to take a closer look at what it is and how it might be beneficial for those dealing with vulvodynia.
Yeah, that sounds good. So remind me again, what exactly is Balance Complex?
So it's marketed as a targeted vaginal probiotic supplement that's designed to address the root causes of vaginal discomfort and promote overall vaginal health.
Okay, so it's a probiotic, but it's also more than just a probiotic.
Right. It combines probiotics with other ingredients that are known to support vaginal health, like anti-inflammatories and natural antimicrobials.
Interesting. So it's like a multi-pronged approach,
Yeah.
tackling the issue from several angles.
Exactly. And that's why it's become so popular. It's like a one-stop shop for vaginal health support.
Okay, let's break down the specific ingredients and see what each one brings to the table. In the information we have here, the first thing listed is a vaginal probiotic blend. And it looks like it contains a pretty substantial 100 billion CFU per gram.
Wow, that is a high count.
It is, which is generally a good thing when it comes to probiotics. The more live bacteria, the better, right?
Generally, yes. But it's also important to make sure those bacteria are the right strains for the job. And it looks like Balance Complex has included a really good mix of strains that have been specifically studied for their benefits in the vaginal environment.
Okay, cool. So let's go through them one by one. We see Lactobacillus acidophilus listed first. We've already talked about this one, but just to recap, what's its primary role?
Lactobacillus acidophilus is a real powerhouse when it comes to producing lactic acid, which, as we've discussed, is essential for maintaining that healthy acidic pH in the vagina.
So it's like the foundation of a healthy vaginal microbiome.
Exactly. It sets the stage for everything else.
Next up is Lactobacillus rhamnosus.
Lactobacillus rhamnosus is a really versatile strain. It's been shown to support the immune system, help balance the microbial environment, and even reduce inflammation.
So it's like a triple threat.
Exactly. It's a real all-rounder.
And then we have Lactobacillus reuteri.
Lactobacillus reuteri is a particularly interesting strain because it's been studied for its ability to help the body produce a substance called H2O2, which has natural antimicrobial properties.
So it's like it's got its own built-in weapon system.
Exactly. It can help to fight off those unwanted microbes.
Awesome. And what about Lactobacillus plantarum?
Lactobacillus plantarum is known for its ability to produce biosurfactants, which can help to disrupt the biofilms that harmful bacteria can form.
So it's like it's breaking down the enemy's defenses.
Precisely. It's making it easier for the good guys to get in and do their job.
And finally, within the probiotic blend, we have Bacillus coagulans.
Bacillus coagulans is a spore-forming probiotic, which, as we discussed earlier, means it's really good at surviving the journey through the digestive system.
So it's more likely to reach the vagina alive and well.
Exactly. And once it gets there, it can help to promote overall microbial balance and long-term resilience.
Okay, so that's the probiotic blend. It sounds like a really solid foundation for supporting a healthy vaginal microbiome. But Balance Complex doesn't stop there, right?
No, it doesn't. It also includes a cranberry and D-mannose blend, which is really interesting.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. We often hear about cranberry and D-mannose for UTIs, but what are they doing in a vaginal health supplement?
Well, it's a reflection of the fact that urinary tract health and vaginal health are really closely connected.
Oh, right. Because the urethra is right there next to the vagina.
Exactly. So it's not uncommon for women who are experiencing vaginal health issues to also experience UTIs.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So how do cranberry and D-mannose work to prevent UTIs?
Well, they both work by preventing bacteria, particularly E. coli, from adhering to the lining of the urinary tract.
So it's like they're making it slippery so the bacteria can't latch on?
Exactly. It's like they're greasing the skids, making it harder for those bacteria to cause an infection.
Okay, cool. So that explains the cranberry and D-mannose blend.
Yeah.
What else do we have in this formula?
Well, next up is oregano leaf extract, which is a really potent natural antimicrobial.
I've heard of that. It's supposed to be really good for fighting off infections.
It is. It's been traditionally used for centuries for its antibacterial and antifungal properties. And it's really versatile. It can be used topically, internally, you name it.
Wow, that's impressive. So how does it work?
Well, oregano contains compounds called carvacrol and thymol, which are thought to be responsible for its antimicrobial effects. These compounds can actually disrupt the cell membranes of bacteria and fungi, effectively killing them off.
So it's like it's poking holes in their armor.
Yeah, kind of. It's like it's sabotaging their defenses.
That's awesome. So oregano leaf extract is like a natural antibiotic.
In a way, yes, but it's important to note that it's not a substitute for prescribed antibiotics if you have a serious infection.
Definitely. Always talk to your doctor before self-treating with any herbal remedies. Okay, so we've got oregano leaf extract. What's next on the list?
Next up is caprylic acid, which is another natural antimicrobial agent.
I'm not as familiar with that one. What does it do?
Caprylic acid is a type of fatty acid that's found naturally in coconut oil. It's been shown to be particularly effective against yeast, specifically Candida albicans, which is the most common cause of yeast infections.
So it's like a yeast-busting ingredient.
Exactly. It can help to control yeast overgrowth and prevent those uncomfortable infections.
That's great. So between oregano leaf extract and caprylic acid, Balance Complex is really packing a punch when it comes to fighting off those unwanted microbes.
It is. It's like a double whammy of natural antimicrobial power.
Okay, what else do we have in this formula?
Well, next up are two enzymes, protease and cellulase.
Enzymes? I'm not sure I understand what those are doing in a vaginal health supplement.
Well, enzymes are basically proteins that speed up chemical reactions in the body. And in this case, protease and cellulase are included to help break down biofilms.
Biofilms.
Yeah, biofilms are these sticky, protective matrices that bacteria can form to protect themselves from the environment and from our immune system.
So it's like they're building a fortress around themselves.
Exactly. It's like a bacterial bunker. And these biofilms can make it really difficult for antibiotics and other antimicrobial agents to penetrate and do their job.
Oh, so that's where protease and cellulase come in.
Right. They help to break down those biofilms, making it easier for the good guys to get in and fight off the bad guys.
That's so cool. So it's like they're the demolition crew of the vaginal ecosystem.
Yeah, kind of. They're clearing the way for the rest of the team.
Okay, so we've got probiotics, cranberry and demonose, oregano leaf extract, caprylic acid, protease, and cellulase. That's already a pretty impressive lineup. But there's even more, right?
There is. Balance Complex also includes a few other ingredients that are known for their soothing and anti-inflammatory property.
Oh, nice. So it's not just about fighting off the bad guys, it's also about calming down the inflammation and promoting healing.
Exactly. It's about taking a holistic approach to vaginal health.
Okay, so what are these soothing ingredients?
Well, first up is aloe vera leaf, which is a classic remedy for skin irritation.
Yeah, I always think of aloe vera for sunburns.
Exactly. It's really
Yeah.
soothing and cooling, and it has similar benefits for the delicate tissues of the vagina. It can help to calm down inflammation, reduce redness and itching, and promote healing.
So it's like a gentle hug for your vagina.
Ah, exactly. It's like a spa treatment for down there.
I love it. Okay, what else do we have?
Next up is arabinogalactin, which is a type of prebiotic fiber.
Prebiotic fiber, what's that?
Prebiotics are basically food for probiotics. They help the good bacteria in your gut to thrive. And arabinogalactin is a particularly good prebiotic because it's been shown to boost the growth of lactobacillus bacteria.
Oh, so it's like fertilizer for the good guys.
Huh, exactly. It's helping them to grow big and strong.
Awesome. And is there anything else?
Yes, there are a few other ingredients that are worth mentioning. Anise seed has traditionally been used for its anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties. Black walnut hulls are known for their antifungal and antibacterial effects. Wormwood has been used to support the immune system and balance the gut microbiome. And reishi mushroom is a powerful adaptogen that can help the body cope with stress and reduce inflammation.
Wow, it's a lot of ingredients. So it sounds like Balance Complex is really trying to cover all the bases when it comes to supporting vaginal health.
It is. It's a very comprehensive formula.
And they're not just throwing in random ingredients. They've clearly put a lot of thought into choosing ingredients that have been scientifically studied and shown to be beneficial.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it so impressive. It's not just another supplement. It's backed by science.
Okay, so we've gone through all the ingredients in Balance Complex. It sounds like a really promising option for women who are struggling with vulvodynia or other vaginal health concerns. But before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more thing. You know, even with all this information, trying to understand your vaginal health can still feel really overwhelming.
It can, absolutely. There's so much information out there, and it can be hard to know where to start.
Exactly. And sometimes you just want a quick and easy way to get a sense of what's going on down there.
Well, I think you'll be interested in this then. Have you heard of vaginalquiz.com?
Vaginalquiz.com. No,
Sure.
what's that?
It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a quick online quiz that's designed to give you a personalized analysis of your vaginal health.
Oh, interesting. So it's like a self-assessment tool.
Exactly. It asks you a series of questions about your symptoms, your lifestyle, and your medical history. And then, based on your answers, it provides you with a personalized report that outlines potential underlying imbalances and offers tailored recommendations.
So it's like a roadmap for your vaginal health journey.
Exactly. It can help you to identify areas where you might need some extra support and give you some guidance on how to address those issues.
That sounds really helpful. And is it difficult to use?
Not at all. It's very user-friendly. And the best part is it's totally free and anonymous.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. So there's no reason not to try it.